What is going on, Ravens flock, and welcome back here again to another episode of the Ravens Way podcast. Joining me, as always, is Voss. Voss, how we doing? It is 2024. That has not set in for me yet, but here we are, 2024. How are the vibes?
The vibes are outstanding. Happy New Year to everybody out there. Happy New Year to you, Yuri. In the old days, they would always throw me off when you had to change the year writing checks, like if you're from your business account. But nobody uses checks anymore, so it's not quite as bad. But how about those Ravens, man? Probably maybe the best 2-game stretch. You go play the NFC's best team and your main competition in the AFC and just boat race both of them in back-to-back weeks. I would personally argue that this is the Ravens' best regular season, at least tied with 2006 for the best regular season only.
Yeah, I would agree. And it is crazy because, I remember, back in the day when I was in school and, you'd go back, to school and then write the date down, and I would always write it the year before. So,
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, man, this team's just rolling. We're just beating up the class of the NFL, really. The number 1 seed in the NFC and the number 2 seed in the AFC. I mean, it's very impressive. I think we both said it before over the offseason that this was probably the deepest roster they built since 2012, and it has depth with veterans, and it has young players that are playing at a very high level, and it just it's all put together in a very nice knot, and we're rolling. We are rolling.
Beautiful mix of the veterans. You watch the Wired episode, you see the Michael Pierces and Brent Urbans and Odell Beckhams and Davian Clowneys, and then you see these young guys, just emerging, Isaiah Likely and just Travis Jones and so many. It's just a perfect mix. It really is. I wish you could have fielded a team like this every single season. You probably can't with the salary cap. So I'm hoping they can capitalize on this season. Number 3 all time in DVOA right now, currently, this Ravens regular season. It's their Super Bowl to lose. I mean, I know San Fran has better Super Bowl odds. I'm not really sure why that is, because I kind of feel like the top tier of the NFC might be a little bit deeper than the top tier of the AFC. We'll circle back to that at our final segment here. But I think it's time to rest up, recover, recuperate. But most importantly, as we mentioned last week, maintain focus. They're up. They got 50 points on the board in the fourth quarter, and Ronnie Stanley's celebrating, and Lamar's telling him, "Keep focused, settle down, keep focused." That's what it's all about this season, I think.
Yeah, I agree, and I guess to get into the Dolphins game just a little bit, is the first kind of point I have is that the Ravens seemed a lot more focused in this game than the Dolphins. Just like watching the two, between watching the Ravens Wired and then watching the Hard Knocks for the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be the guy who goes to the parties and just sits in the corner, but the Dolphins just seem super lackadaisical and happy and go lucky and just kind of goofing around in practice. And Mike McDaniel is just saying, he's just saying curse words every 3 seconds, and I guess that's his style or whatever. But not to say that I don't do that, but it just seemed like the Dolphins didn't have that edge to them like we had in this game. That focus, that innate to lock in when the time is right. And even seeing them on the sideline when I was at the game, it just seemed like the Dolphins kind of had this weird kind of just energy to them, and it didn't have that. The Ravens just seemed like they were locked in for 4 quarters and they were ready to go to battle. And I don't know if the Dolphins had that. It just didn't seem, the vibes weren't really there for them.
Yeah, I'd agree. There was a couple turning points in this game. It was a tough, close game in the first quarter, obviously, and then Tyreek Hill bobbles that touchdown, and then the next drive, Odell Beckham makes that catch. I think that was really a momentum-turning play. And later on in the game, Gus fumbles, and I believe it was the very next play, if not, 2 plays later, where Geno gets his pick and turns it right back over. The Ravens just kept coming. They just kept pouring it on. After what happened, the Dolphins did to them last year, this was the time to just keep pouring it on. It was beautiful to see. Let's start with the offensive side of the ball. And any takeaways you had there because one of the highest 3 points shy of the franchise record in most points ever scored.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really ironic that the week after, during the week they're always talking about the Ravens are defensively led and all these things, and then the Ravens offense just goes out there and just keeps scoring and scoring and scoring and scoring and scoring. The first takeaway I have is that is Lamar Jackson is just 5 touchdowns, 5 passing touchdowns through the air, throwing the football down the field with really good accuracy, really good poise in the pocket, knowing when to leave, knowing when to stay, knowing how to leverage defenders with throws. You see that throw to Odell Beckham down the sideline. I thought that was just something that they've tried for a while this year. We had plenty of clips I posted and plenty that we went through here that where they've been trying that deep shot to Odell and it just hasn't clicked. It's a couple things happen, but they finally click on it, and then you have that play with Zay Flowers. It's just my first takeaway for the offense is Lamar Jackson is just playing at a really really good level right now, and this team will go as far as he really takes them here in the playoffs. And I feel way better now than I did in 2019 when they were running all over people because Lamar Jackson's he's just a lot more mature player, and he's a lot more really kind of like dissecting teams in terms of an arm standpoint.
Well said. Yeah, definitely a lot more poise from Lamar. In previous years, pretty much, the Buffalo playoff game, the first Tennessee playoff game, even all the way back to the Chargers playoff game, when they were in must-pass situations and the pocket was not holding for him, he kind of got panicky almost, and he just playing with a lot more poise. That throw he made to Zay, where he kind of faked the bootleg left and then switched, ripped the shoulders around and just hit him on a dime for a 75-yard dagger. One of the plays of the year for sure. That Isaiah Likely, the fourth down touchdown, I mean, just perfect on every level. You even just watch the replay. I Likely catches it with one hand, no wasted movement, all the way to the end zone, breaks a few tackles, and puts it in. You had everybody stepping up, and Lamar was just sensational. I don't think there's any question that he should be the MVP this season. They're the best team, and he's the force multiplier, the engine that carries them. And judging by gambling odds, he's the runaway favorite. Might even be unanimous again for the second time.
Yeah, minus 20,000. That's kind of hard to really swing back the other way, no matter what happens this next weekend. I think. But
you gonna put $20,000 on it to win $100?
No. I was looking at it yesterday, and I put $5 on it to win 5 cents. 3.5 cents. So, but yeah. The other takeaway I have offensively is the offensive line has really started to stout up a little bit here, a little bit of shakiness, rotating tackles. But now, as the weeks went on, and they've faced 2 opponents with good edge rushers, until obviously Chubb unfortunately went down, but 2 very good defensive lines, 2 teams that we pointed to in our previous breakdown was that these are both kind of similar teams. They're built with the front, and then the caveat was that the Dolphins had a better secondary, but offensive line held up again, and it seems like Todd Monken's giving a little more help to the 21 or so 12 personnel with the double tight end blocks and giving Lamar Jackson time to throw the football, and it all plays hand in hand. And I just wanted to keep rolling, just keep doing what you're doing offensively, keep giving Lamar time to throw. If you have to send 2 guys into 7 defensive backs, I mean it's fine because it worked out plenty well this past weekend when they did it with the Zay Flowers play and the other plays. So and then the last offensive takeaway, number 88 on the field, number 1 in my heart. I ran down the steps. I ran down the steps of the stadium. And people thought like we just scored the game-winning touchdown, and I just yelled. I yelled. There was probably a little bit of alcoholic beverages to do with that, but I ran down them stadiums and I yelled. I just yelled so loud. I'm glad I got to witness that in person. But I don't think that ball was supposed to go to him, but I don't care. He got it. He caught it.
we were all talking about you in the GC when that as soon as that happened. The ones of us that weren't at the game with you. Yeah, I want to echo what you said about the offensive line. I think about 2 quarterback hits in this game, and Lamar is. I forget. There's a really good article out there by Jonas Schaffer on the Baltimore Banner about how Lamar has elevated his game and just how much he's extending and buying time in the pocket. And it's still when you have a quarterback that's buying 5 seconds in the pocket and still only put 2 quarterback hits on with one of the best teams in the league at getting sacks. Tremendous job, Ben Cleveland. How about Ben Cleveland? Kevin Zeitler, late scratch. And Ben Cleveland, we talked about this in the season preview, and I kind of planted my flag here. He's better on the right side. He's not a left guard necessarily. He's a right guard. Had a really good game. 0 pressures allowed. Also want to give a shout out to Justice Hill. Over 200 total all-purpose yards, including that 70. I think it was a 70-some yard return.
78.
And then he had the 20-yard wheel route touchdown. The other one, which was like a 3rd and long. And it was just a little swing pass, and he broke about 4 tackles, looked like almost like Ray Rice in the 2012 season. So tremendous job. They're just really deep. They have the top line stars, and they also have the depth, and it's a winning combination. So hopefully you keep the train rolling. Peaking at the right time, definitely on offense. They're peaking at the right time. There's no question about it. What is it? They've won 6 or 7 in a row, 9 of their last 10, I believe, and they're just boat racing people. Tremendous job on the defense. Takeaways on defense.
Well, I was very impressed by the fact that they held the Dolphins under 20 points, and they're from. The game starts out and you kind of trade with them a little bit and you kind of feel like, okay, here we go. We're about to be in a slugfest with them. And the defense, to the point that, some people have made, and I think we probably made on here before, is that the spine of the defense really is kind of what controls it. It is what keeps this defense kind of together. The spine, the playmakers in the middle. And this game, they didn't have Colin Hamilton to make plays for them. So they needed some help from elsewhere. And I think in the preview, I said that if Tua probably turns the ball over 2 times, the Dolphins' offense turns the football over 3 times, the Ravens were to win this game by a lot. And they went out there and turned the football over 3 times. They fumbled there at the end, and they threw 2 picks. So it's just the defense is playing as a really well unit. They're really well coached. You can tell by their depth drops on the outside. You can tell by their rush lanes. You can tell by how well these guys are getting off the football. And I think, my first takeaway defensively is just you can't have a quarterback come in and beat us that doesn't have an elite arm talent. I don't see it happening. I was
going to make the same exact point.
The balls are just going to hang out there. And one of these guys, one of these freak athletes, one of the many freak athletes we have on this defense are going to make a play on it. And it's just, yeah, and once again, not to point to the preview and pat backs, but I said it's a similar team. You got another quarterback who needs to get the ball out quick, get it to his playmakers, and if you disrupt the timing, it's just going to be a mess. And the Dolphins had their screens and stuff, but
if you don't have a fastball, if your quarterback doesn't have a fastball velocity on his throws, it's game over. We've seen that the entire season. We've seen that. That's kind of the entire crux of the Mike McDonald defense. They really began getting a lot of notoriety for shutting down Joe Burrow. And we've seen it time and time again. There's only 2 quarterbacks that really, tested this defense the entire season. One was that tremendous Deshaun Watson second half, and the other was Matthew Stafford. And both those guys have, elite top-end arm strength. The other guys just don't. As far as the defense, I thought it was a slow start for the inside backers. We've seen that a few times against this Shanahan-Kubiak scheme where they kind of, they had that big play where the fullback leaked out and Roquan was lost. There had a couple plays where PQ couldn't get off blocks. Then they just turned it on, man. That interception from Roquan, and I'm certainly not the biggest proponent of Roquan, but that was a special $20 million a year play. You know what I mean? And then he also gets partial credit for the second pick because he tipped it. Gino might have picked it either way, but at least give him a little nod of the cap to that. Defensive line continues to get penetration. You had Matabike get another sack. Travis Jones flash. You had Michael Pierce had a couple of nice tackles for loss, getting in the backfield, getting the running back on A-Chain on the ground. And A-Chain did some pretty good work against them. Clowney and Owe both being disruptive. So really good signs from the defensive front. We kind of pegged that. We thought they could get after that offensive line, but you got to go out there and do it. They're getting late in the season. They've been through the gauntlet, and they still managed to do it. So hats off on that.
Definitely. And Dafaele got a sack as well, which you gotta give him props for that. He clearly to Roquan, he was not offsides on that play. So and then the second takeaway defensively is that if that's what they look like against a top offense in the AFC without Kyle Hamilton and Brandon Stevens, I really wonder what they look like. It gives me a lot of confidence. It's more of a team takeaway of if Kyle Hamilton and Brandon Stevens are out there in the playoff games. I mean, how much better is that defense just going to get back to full strength and really shut down these teams? I don't know unless you have. I'm just not sure which quarterback right now in the AFC that's playing on a team that can go swing for swing with us, because we'll probably cover it later in the later segments, but I don't see, like, Trevor Lawrence is kind of hurt playing through injury, and I'm like, well, maybe, but then we played him already and it didn't really look too great for them. So my second takeaway is just I really have a lot of confidence in this defense, and it can be something we can lean on and give us good field position in the playoffs and make turnovers and make plays. They lead the league in sacks, lead the league in turnovers, they lead the league in probably points allowed. So
yeah, no, I don't think there's any quarterback that can carve up this defense if they have their A game. And more than that, I only think there's a handful of guys in the whole league that can even carve them up, to speak, with their B game. So I do have one nit to pick with this game. It's the only one I'm going to pick. But why the hell is Marlon Humphrey trying to block? What was that, a field goal or an extra point? When you already have Stevens out, that's the play he got hurt on. He had two special team snaps, and I do the snap tracker, snap count tracker or article for Baltimore Beatdown every week. Usually comes out on Monday. I think that's his first special team snaps of the year. A lot of their star players just don't play special teams because it's not worth the injury risk, and I don't understand why they would do that. But despite missing Marlowe and Stevens and Kyle Hamilton, Darby stepped up and Mollett stepped up. Both of them allowed less than 5 yards per target in this game against Hill primarily, and a very explosive offense. Mollett in particular, I think he was like below 3 yards. That's your top G, as you like to call him. He had a really good game. All in all, they're poised. They're primed. They're poised. I also want to just give a quick hat tip to Todd Monken. Really called a fantastic game against Vic Fangio, and always nice to run up the scoreboard on that guy that likes to cry in his beer when the Ravens, put it on his defense. As I said, peaking at the right time as we now look forward to Week 18, essentially an exhibition game. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time previewing that. Personally, I am on team rest everyone you possibly can. A little bit disappointing to see that Malik Harrison has been ruled out with a groin injury. I was hoping to get Clowney and Owe a little bit of extra rest this game. You can only deactivate, I believe, 7 players plus 2 P squad elevations. So you're going to have a lot of guys that are dressed and then maybe only play a series or 2, but they don't, you don't need to watch the ball go through the basket, so to speak. Put one good series together and then get off the field like you do in the preseason, because they just did that in this last game. I really want to rest everybody. This is not the 2019 Ravens. Number one, they're way more focused than they were then, I think. But secondly, they're multiple, they're versatile. They have schemes and coordinators that can win in any style game. They can play from ahead and they can play from behind. The 2019 team could not play from behind. They did not have the run defense to get to force 3-and-outs, and they definitely didn't have the personnel or the scheme on offense to chase points through the air in pure passing situations. So I want to rest as many people as we can. As you mentioned earlier, the Bradley Chubb injury, how unfortunate that was. There's no reason to risk any of these guys that you really need to that kind of thing, knock on wood.
Yeah, I would agree. This next game, I really would elevate the whole practice squad. Just let all those guys play. Elevate them all. I don't even care. I really would prefer that.
And they can't do it. If it was COVID, they could do it, but they can only elevate two
I
piece
know.
guards. That's it.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Like, really, I don't. Even if these guys got incentives, just pay it out anyway. I mean, at that point, I just rather. I rather these guys.
70 defensive snaps for Broderick Washington, 70 defensive snaps for Delshon Phillips, plus another 30 on special teams. Same thing for Trenton Simpson. Let him get some experience. Just who cares? You know, you don't need these guys necessarily in the playoffs. Just let them. Melvin Gordon and the big play guy they picked up today.
Yeah, and Dalvin Cook. Yeah, let Dalvin Cook and Melvin Gordon turn the time back to 2016, 2015, and let those guys run. Let them go out there and make some plays. But yeah, I guess you know, just to cover it lightly for this game, I think Isaiah Likely should rest.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's time again, once again, always time. But let's get number 88 out there on the field. Let's get Aguilar on the field. Treadwell. Let's get Tylan Wallace out there. I think Bateman really shouldn't. I mean, Bateman maybe get a couple snaps in this game, but just to keep him active and fresh and in a positive direction. But
Malik Cunningham.
Yeah.
Let's give Malik Cunningham about 30 snaps running routes and some wildcat and mix him in and see what he's got. This is like an eval. To me, this is an evaluate. It's a preseason game. It's basically a preseason game. So I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I would agree.
I definitely agree with featuring Kolar. Now that you have Likely and Kolar kind of emerging, you might be in a position where you're able to deal from a strength, whether that's I'm not saying who necessarily, but if you got 3 good tight ends, you don't necessarily need 3. So you can maybe flip. Can you flip Likely for a second rounder? Maybe. I don't know. That's more long-term thinking, just something I thought of. But I want to feature Melgo. Dalvin Cook, a lot of people hate it. He has some of the worst yards over expected or under expected probably for him this year. But when have we ever seen any running back fail to maximize their opportunities in a Lamar Jackson backfield? I don't think we've seen one in Lamar's 6 years in Baltimore. So, maybe you can break one. And I want to rest the entire O-line. Get Big Salah in there. Get Cleveland and Falalele. You got a good backup center in Mustafa, and they've already been rotating the tackles, and Cleveland started last week. And I just don't want, TJ Watt and some of these guys are going to be going for cheap shots because that's what they do. That's what Pittsburgh is. They want to pretend like they're up on a pedestal of the NFL's blue blood. But honestly, deep down, they're cheap shot artists. Joey Porter, Hines Ward, all these guys. So I want to get these big boys, and it'd be great to start your backups and still put it on Tomlin. Harbaugh would love that, and I would love that too.
I would too. I think this is a great game for the Ravens to go out there and score another 30 points. I still think they could do it, to be honest with you. But just to put a nod on it. I'm going to go ahead and hop out here with my prediction. Meaningless game, whatever. But it's always good to beat the Steelers. It is the Steelers. It is the divisional rival. That does hold some weight, in my opinion. So I'm going to go with and it is going to snow, I think, Sunday. Snow, maybe rain, sleet, whatever.
I don't think it's quite cold enough. I checked it this afternoon. It's not quite cold enough to snow. Although we did get some flurry. I saw some flurries at the bus stop with the kids this morning. So who knows? You
never know. But I'm going to go with the Ravens to win 27-23. I just think that new offense. Tyler Huntley maybe looks a little bit better in this one than he did in Roman's offense. And for my parlay, here we go. Kolar anytime touchdown, combined with Mason Rudolph anytime interception, or over a half interception. That's my my parlay for this game.
I like that. Well, Gino's got to play because they only have 2 healthy safeties on the team.
He's going to get the pick. He's going to get the pick.
Right. So Gino's
going to get 2
of
them. 2 of them. He's going to get 2 of them.
I could see it. Put him up to 9 on the year.
No, put him in the league leader. I was looking at that earlier. Deron Bland has 8. He has 7.
Okay. There you go. Yeah, I like that. It's pretty impressive for Gino, considering he's been a part-time player. We know Marcus has missed some time, but he's been more of a big nickel on the back end when Kyle's healthy and when they're both healthy. So that's really impressive for Gino. Hopefully it gets us a good comp pick. But, I don't necessarily have a score prediction. I could see the game in the mid-20s. And I do think the Ravens are going to come out on top. I just have a feeling, they did it in 2019. They did it back in the day with Ryan Mallett, RIP. And then Pittsburgh does it to them sometimes too. It's just kind of the nature of the rivalry. But I will go with the Ravens win, and I do like if you could parlay Kolar touchdown with Stone interception for like a really nice boost. Go for that. I like that. Let's transition here because we don't want to spend too much time again. Just focusing on this meaningless game. I mean, they're sitting pretty now. And we do want to talk about who we do and don't want to play in the playoffs. And we're going to do a little bit of an AFC power ranking of who we do not want the Ravens to see or who we least want the Ravens to see. Because I'm not scared of anybody, but there's some teams that would be more concerned about than others. And let's start with the bottom. I did 1 through 5, Yuri. Did you go to 6 or only 5?
6.
Okay. Well, cue us up with your 6th. Let's go in ascending order.
So who I would want to face, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, the Browns are they're
you do want to face the Browns.
Absolutely.
So they're 6? Okay.
Yeah, I would love to face them. I think that while, it's great that, Joe Flacco's having his little resurgence over there. I think that it's more of the Browns defense is really good, and they're still a very talented football team, but they're also felted with injuries. And I would love it. It's a great narrative to it. And I think that it would put to bed a lot of things if the Ravens went out there and just smacked up on them. Like the first, just coming out the divisional round, they won like 42-17. Like I think that would be great because Joe Flacco still throws turnovers. He's going to turn the football over, and I'm honestly just tired of like the whole Lamar can't win playoff games and Flacco was all this, and it's so boring. So I'd love to face him, and I really don't. I don't think they can match up with us on paper before like they could.
I think 2015 through 2018 put the Flacco narrative to bed, and they should have never given him the second extension, and I will put that on my tombstone. But my 5th team, who I don't want to draw, essentially one of the teams I would like to draw, but anyway, that's kind of how we're doing it, is the Houston Texans. I think the Ravens are not unbeatable, but in order to beat the Ravens, you're going to need a mic drop performance from your quarterback, just a lights out, unconscious performance. And Stroud is the best of that sort of tier of quarterbacks there. I think at this point, I would say he's better than Trevor Lawrence, slightly. And Lawrence is banged up, but Lawrence is just turnover prone and kind of prone to bonehead mistakes. And they're both kind of equal talented, but maybe Stroud has a little bit more poise to him. They also have good edge rushers and good corners. They picked up Brandon Graham. Obviously, Anderson's having a good year. He was on the top 5 of pass rush win rate, along with our boy Clowney for the season. But Stingley's having a really good year. And I think on the other side they have Nelson. So those are the kind of teams that could kind of puts you in a little bit of a bind on offense are the ones that have pass rushers and corners, I think. So you couple that, I think I would much rather face Indy or Jacksonville or whoever ends up coming out of the South instead of Houston. So they're my fifth. Who's your fifth?
So are we in ascending order, as in you would want to face, or are we listing teams in favor of most face to least want to face, or the other way around? Like you would not want to face.
So my number one team is the team I would least want to face. Okay, my number 5 team is the team I'd most want to face.
Okay, yeah. My number 5 team here is going to be Jacksonville. We already played them before, and it was kind of a sloppy game, but I just think that on paper they're just not talented enough to go toe to toe with us. And basically, any team that isn't on paper good enough to face us anymore, and they don't have a quarterback that's playing really, really well, I'd love to face them. So Jacksonville's another one. I just don't think they really. Christian Kirk is back, so we'll see if that maybe gives him a little bit of a boost offensively. But I just don't see how they can go toe to toe with us anymore. I'm just not seeing it with the way their quarterback is playing.
Yeah, very good. I have them even below. They'd probably be my 6th if I took it to 6. Number 4 for me is Miami. Obviously, we just saw that. They're still, a little bit scary. They get Waddle back, they get Mostert back. They got a lot of speed. That is always an element that can break a game open. Somebody breaks a tackle, and all of a sudden you're chasing points and whatever. And they have Ramsey. I didn't check the prognosis on Xavier Howard, but didn't look too good. The thing for me doesn't put them higher on the list. And I think we did this exact same exercise with Garnett a month ago, and they were my number 1 in the AFC, but they're not anymore because Jalen Phillips is hurt and Bradley Chubb's hurt. And if you don't have a pass rush and you don't have a great offensive line and you have a system quarterback like Tua is, I just don't see it happening. So they're my 4th.
Yeah, for me, number 4, we're gonna start getting into divisional winners here, and of course the 7th spot's kind of all up in the air with whatever happens. So, I think number 4 for me is gonna be Buffalo. And while Allen is playing really well, and he can certainly, actually he's not. Looking at his stats in the box score, it hasn't looked too great. But once again, another team that's felted with injuries. And I don't think on paper they can line up with us anymore. They have one receiver. It's kind of like if we just played Miami again with Hill. Like they have one good receiver, and they have a running back that's playing very well. And obviously there's a big difference in quarterback, but I don't think their offensive line is that great. And while Allen will certainly make plays defensively, I think the Ravens offense could absolutely counterhook them pretty hard. And while it is worrisome to play a quarterback like that in the playoffs who can quote unquote take over. Once again, I have to stick to my guns of who's more talented, and I think the Ravens just kind of are.
Fair enough. Yeah, I had them a little higher. I'll get to them in a moment. Number 3 for me is Kansas City. Mahomes and Reed have been there and done that. What is it? 5 straight AFC Championship games they've hosted. Do they still have a chance at the 2 seed, or is it guaranteed to come out of the AFC East?
Well, I'm not positive about. I don't know. They just sat Mahomes, so I don't think they sat Mahomes. So I don't think they can.
So they're probably if they lose to the Chargers, it's probably going to either be the Dolphins or the Bills at the 2 seed. Either way, they've been there. They've done that. Rashee Rice is coming on a little bit. Maybe Kelsey, goes and gets sleeps in a hyperbaric chamber and rewinds back to his form from 2 years ago. Or maybe breaks up with his girlfriend and figures some things out. They do have a pretty good pass defense. Chris Jones, they have some pretty good corners, and Spagnuolo is scheming it up very well. However, their offensive tackles are a major liability. I think that's really something that's been overlooked about the Chiefs this year. They swapped out Zeus Jr. for what's his name from Jacksonville, Jawan Taylor. And also now they have that Charles Cross, not Charles Cross. Who's the rookie they have? Wan'Dale Robinson, the guy from Oklahoma. He's been playing left tackle for them. So that's really where they're vulnerable. They don't have the weaponry they used to have. Kelsey's getting a little bit older. But to me, there's still three. I still, you got to respect what Reed and Mahomes have done. So to me, they're the third team I would at least like to face.
Yeah, for me, number 3 is going to be Miami. Obviously, the offensive and defensive lines for them is starting to fall apart, but we didn't see them with Waddle and we didn't see them with Mostert, and that is a big part of their offense is having those two outside threats that can run 4-2s and then add on the speed with the running backs. And obviously, A-Chain is probably better than Mostert, but Mostert does have 20 touchdowns in the year, so you got to give him at least some respect for that. And I'd still like to face them again. I still think the Ravens would win, but we just didn't see them with a fully healthy wide receiver group, personnel, skill group. So that could change a couple things the next time we face them.
Definitely. None of these teams are pushovers. Obviously, they made the playoffs. They could all beat the Ravens, but we're just kind of saying who would we be the most fearful of. Number 2 for me is Buffalo, and I think Allen just has that ability to just take over the game and really eviscerate a defense, even when they have their A game or their B game. And their defense is depleted for sure, but McDermott has kind of schemed up some pretty good things. They picked up what's the corner? Russell Douglas, I believe. He's playing really well for them in Tre'Davious White's absence. Milano went out, but they picked we all know linebackers are kind of interchangeable. Their defensive front is pretty good. They got some good interior pass rushers. They got some good edge rushers. So that would be the one for me. I think I respect McDermott and I respect Buffalo, and so they're number 2 for me.
Yeah, the only reason why I put them a little bit lower is I don't. Allen will make his turnovers. He's gonna put the ball in harm's way, and I think this defense might capitalize one too many times for.
Well, he's PFF's number 1 quarterback for whatever that's worth, and PFF also has their O-line. I want to say around 5th or 8th, so better than they look on paper at least. I just want to make that point. That's all.
I don't know. It's paper season. It is paper season. It really is. This is where talent comes out, and all those PFF rankings can go out the window. But anyway, my number 2 is going to be a little bit of off ball. We're not even sure if they're going to make it, but if they do, the Steelers, just Ouija board dark magic that surrounds that football team every time we play them. And obviously, the game we're going to play here in a couple of days really isn't the same, but so many times the Ravens and Steelers have played in the playoffs, and it's just come down to the last minute, and it's this whole heartbreak, and then all this stuff happening. So many championship games, and while they are most certainly not as talented as us, this is where I'm going to lean into the world of the dark magic that Mike Tomlin kind of puts out there on the field. There's so many weird things that happen in games between us, and in theory the Ravens should blow them out of the water, but I don't want to. I really would not like to face them. I would rather face the Browns. I'd rather face the Bengals with Browning, but I don't think they can make it mathematically anymore. But I just think the Steelers, they always have this weird aura around them when they play us, and it's like just nothing we can do.
Also known as the referees giving them calls because they are blue blood of the NFL. Yeah, I'm personally not worried about the Steelers at all, but I respect your opinion there. I'm going to go to my number 1 team, and funny enough, this was your number 6, Cleveland. And not necessarily because of Flacco, more because of their defense. They are the only team to really, in my view, beat the Ravens offense this entire season. The other 2 losses were more that the Ravens beat themselves with fumbles and stupid picks and dumb penalties and special teams gaffes and all that kind of stuff. But Cleveland actually did beat them. And the Ravens, if you had to pick one place where the Ravens are a little bit vulnerable, although they've been better in recent weeks, it is at offensive tackle with Ronnie Stanley. They have the 2 edge rushers. Pittsburgh does too, but they also couple that with the corners. They have a pretty good line, and Flacco is going to throw some picks, but that YOLO mentality does offer the variance that could maybe, produce a kind of a crazy back and forth weird game. So that's the number one team that I would rather not face. I mean, it's either between them or Buffalo. I just gave them the edge because they do have the defense. They're the only defense, I think, that, as you said, on paper season, that does have the personnel to actually match up with the Ravens offense and square up with them mano a mano and, hold their own, in my view, compared to all the rest of the teams in the AFC.
Definitely fair points there. The last team that I have, or the first team I have here, is going to be Kansas City. Just they've been there, they've done that so many times, and it is playoff time, and there's no reason. I mean, the Ravens, they beat them in 2021, but they haven't faced off in the playoffs yet, and certainly being an M&T Bank will be different, and Mahomes may not have the receivers this year, and Kelsey is, looks like he's starting to slow down, but their defense has been playing very well, and Mahomes is just he's kind of like the guy, one of the guys that can go against this defense, and if he has his A game, it's certainly going to be a battle and a slugfest, and I don't think Mahomes' A game does not include turnovers like Allen, like Flacco. Like some of the other ones, even though he has thrown 14 picks this year, I think when it comes to playoff time, it's a little different for him.
Yeah, well said. So isn't the coffee hot? As I'm sipping on my Ravens mug here, sipping some coffee. Isn't the coffee nice that, or as they used to say, the Orioles game, ain't the beer cold when you're the hunter, and they're all trying to chase you, and we're not here like, oh, hope we can get this patsy that we can actually match up with. None of these teams can actually match up with the Ravens for finally the first time in 10 years, and it's a great feeling to have. So can't wait for these playoff season. Let's savor every moment, Ravens flock. These seasons don't come around every single year. Let's go to our last segment here, around the league. I didn't spend a whole lot of time digging into some of these meaningless games, but there are a couple of meaningful games. I didn't necessarily pick an upset of the week, although I do have one if you need it. I'll tee us up here.
Yeah, my upset of the week is going to be the Dolphins, eliminating the Bills from the playoffs more than likely. I'm sure they can both, they both make it if the Bills win, but Dolphins are like plus 166, and they need some momentum coming into January, and they can still get the 2 seed and still probably play at home. And I think that probably is meaningful to them. I don't think they're just going to croak over. And apparently, Allen has never won in Miami. If I'm not mistaken, I saw that from somebody on Dolphins Twitter. It was something.
I saw the opposite. I saw that Buffalo's kicked Miami's teeth in, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. Twitter misinformation. But anyway, I think I just think that Miami is just with Waddle hopefully back, and then Tyreek, and then they just pull it out somehow. That's my analysis. They got to pull it out and get some home field advantage.
I'm going the opposite way on that one. I have Buffalo beating Miami and grabbing the 2 seed. And hopefully that means that maybe KC and Buffalo play each other the second round, and one of them knocks the other one off and paves a little bit easier road for the Ravens. Let's start with the AFC. We're trying to figure out who's going to win the AFC South. I think Houston beats Indy pretty handily. I think the Jaguars are going to get knocked off by Tennessee. I think I mentioned this last week. It didn't quite come to fruition, but Vrabel has that scrappy, bushwhacker style that can maybe pull off almost like Tomlin and Harbaugh do to each other. One team's about to make it. So anyway, I think Jacksonville loses, and I think Jacksonville's out. That's all I have for the AFC pretty much. I do have the Houston Texans. I think with the premium position talent they have, imagine that. They actually have talent at premium positions and that helps. I think scrappy team. Ryans has their defense playing above their skis a little bit. So I'll go with them. And in the NFC, I'm going to go with Tampa Bay in the South. Isn't it funny how every year both South divisions are just kind of like meh? Like they're both just like every single year, besides when Tom Brady joined it. But anyway, I think Tampa wins the South. They beat Carolina. I think New Orleans gets edged out. However, upset of the week, Chicago Bears +3. I think they knocked Green Bay out of the playoffs. So I will go with that. A lot of these must win. We see this every year. Week 17, week 18, there's certain teams that are still alive, and there's other teams just playing for pride. And some of those teams playing for pride beat the teams that need a win. So I will go with the Bears +3. They've been playing well. So yeah, it should be exciting playoff field.
Yeah, I think I'm about to fade you on like every pick because
Yeah,
I'm going with the Dolphins to win. I'm going with the Colts to win. And then I'm going with the Saints to win.
Jags. Okay.
I'm going with the Saints to win, and then whatever team Tampa's playing, I'm picking that team to beat Tampa.
Carolina. They're playing
I'm picking Carolina to beat Tampa.
You want to make a little gentleman's bet?
Yeah, let's do it. My what? So
your money line parlay?
Titans?
Yes.
I don't
know. No. The Texans are playing the Colts.
Oh yeah. Okay. Colts, and then I'm going with the 3 I'm most confident. I'm sticking away from the other game, the Jags Titans one. I'm sticking away from that one. I'm going Colts, Packers, Saints, all to make the playoffs. Those are my 3.
Well, I didn't have the Saints. Saints play the Falcons. I agree with you on the Saints. I think the Saints win, but I still think the Saints need like 4 things to happen to make the playoffs. So I think the Saints win.
Really? I just thought they need to win that game and then that's it.
No, they need Green Bay. They need Green Bay
what about
to
the division,
lose.
though? What about the division?
No, if Tampa wins, they're in. If Tampa wins,
what if Tampa loses? What if Tampa loses? Saints win.
Then the Saints win.
Okay, that's what I'm going with.
So you're going with Carolina?
Yeah.
All right. How much are we betting on this?
You do 50? 50?
We'll do 50.
Okay. 50 on. I have 50 on the Packers to make the playoffs, the Colts to make the playoffs, and the Saints to make the playoffs, coupled with the Panthers to beat out Tampa.
That's right. We'll go with that. $50 parlay, Green Bay, Indy, and Nola to make the playoffs. I like that.
Yeah.
I got you.
Okay.
Send me your Venmo.
All right.
What else you got, brother?
I'm good. I don't have anything else here.
All I got is just wish Ravens flock happy Festivus. What a joyous time. What a fantastic season. What a great way to punctuate it with that Miami game. And now you get the opportunity to rest up and gear up and get those smelling salts up your nose when it's time, like Brent Urban likes to do.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried smelling salts, by the way?
No.
Dude, I really want to get some. I think I'm going to buy some. I might send you some. I might pay you. I might pay you out on your parlay and smelling salts.
Okay. All right. We'll go ahead and get out of here. Appreciate everybody for joining. We'll see you guys next week, concluding this Steelers game and Charlie Kolar 15 touchdown game. Here we go.
Let's go.
All right. See ya.